Become so valuable, calm, disciplined, and rare that people fear losing access to you. They will not tell you this to your face, so listen closely. The world does not reward the loud, it rewards the rare. Right now, you are easy to reach, easy to replace, easy to forget, and that is the quiet tragedy of most men. They spend their lives becoming available when they should be becoming valuable. Look around. Everyone is begging to be seen, posting, performing, chasing attention like it's oxygen, and the more they chase, the cheaper they become. You will do the opposite. You will become so calm that chaos cannot move you, so disciplined that temptation cannot buy you, so valuable that your absence costs more than your presence ever did. People do not fear losing what is common, they fear losing what is rare. So you will make yourself rare, not by shouting, but by mastering the one thing they cannot fake, yourself. By the end of this, you will understand a truth most men die without knowing. Access to you is a privilege, not a right. If you're ready to become untouchable, comment, "I am the prize." Say it, mean it. Then, let me show you how. Number 1, the law of scarcity. Understand this before anything else. Value is not created by presence, it is created by scarcity. The moment you are everywhere, you are worth nothing. The moment you are available to everyone, you are valuable to no one. This is the first law men refuse to learn, and it is the reason they stay poor in respect, poor in power, and poor in peace. Look at how the world treats what is common. Water covers most of the earth, and men waste it without a thought. Yet gold buried deep and hard to reach makes them dig, kill, and beg. You were not born to be water. You were born to be the thing they dig for. So stop making yourself easy. Stop answering every call the second it rings. Stop explaining yourself to people who have not earned the explanation. Every time you give access freely, you lower your worth in their eyes, whether they admit it or not. Human nature is cruel in its arithmetic. It measures value by difficulty of access. The harder you are to reach, the higher you climb in their minds. This is not arrogance. This is strategy. You are not disappearing to play games. You are withdrawing to build weight. And weight is what makes a man impossible to ignore. When you finally speak, they lean in. When you finally appear, they pay attention. Scarcity is not coldness. It is the price of being taken seriously. If you understand this, comment, "I am the prize." Number 2, master your silence. Now, learn the weapon that no one can take from you, your silence. Most men are ruled by their need to respond. They hear an insult and rush to defend. They feel a doubt and rush to explain. They sense tension and rush to fill it with words. And in that rushing, they hand over every ounce of their power to the person willing to stay quiet. Silence is not weakness. Silence is control. Wearing the mask of stillness. When you learn to hold your tongue, you become unreadable, and what people cannot read, they cannot manipulate. The man who speaks less is assumed to know more. The man who reacts to nothing is assumed to fear nothing. This is the illusion you must build around yourself, and silence is the brick you build it with. Watch how people squirm when you do not fill the empty air. Watch how they reveal themselves, confess their intentions, and expose their weakness just to escape the discomfort of your quiet. Their words become your intelligence, their impatience becomes your advantage. While they talk to feel powerful, you listen to become powerful. Never explain your every move because explanation invites debate and debate invites doubt. Let your actions speak in a language louder than any sentence. When someone tries to provoke you, understand that they are testing whether they can move you, and the moment you react, they own you, so give them nothing. Let your calm frustrate them. Let your composure unsettle them. A man who cannot but be provoked cannot be controlled, and a man who cannot be controlled becomes something people quietly fear. Silence also protects you from your own worst enemy, the words you would regret. Half the wars in a man's life are started by a sentence he could have swallowed. Discipline your mouth and you discipline your fate. Speak only when your words carry weight and they will land like judgments rather than noise. This is the art of the rare and the dangerous. If you are ready to master your silence, comment, "Silence is my armor." Number 3, build discipline into your bones. Now we arrive at the foundation everything else stands upon, discipline. The one trait that separates the man who talks about power from the man who quietly holds it. Motivation is a liar. It visits you on easy mornings and abandons you the moment life gets hard. And if you build your life on something that fickle, you will collapse the first time the sky turns gray. Discipline does not care how you feel. Discipline is the decision you made once, honored 1,000 times, until it stops being a choice and becomes who you are. Most men wait to feel ready. They wait for the mood, the sign, the perfect conditions that never come, and they die still waiting, still promising themselves that tomorrow will be different. You will not be one of them. You will do the hard thing whether you feel like it or not, because you understand that every time you keep a promise to yourself, you deposit something into an account no one can rob. Self-respect and self-respect is the root of every kind of power. For a man who trusts himself, needs no applause from the crowd. Look at what discipline does to your reputation. When you show up every single time, when your word becomes as reliable as sunrise, people stop questioning you and start depending on you, and dependence is the beginning of leverage. But discipline is not only what you do, it is also what you refuse to do. It is the food you push away, the argument you walk from, the pleasure you deny yourself because you know it leads nowhere. Every appetite you master is a chain you break, and every chain you break is a man you are not meant to remain. The undisciplined are ruled by everything outside them, their cravings, their moods, the opinions of strangers, but you will be ruled by something inside you, a code so quite firm that no temptation can bend it and no crisis can shake it. This is why the disciplined man is feared. He cannot be bought with pleasure, cannot be broken with pressure, cannot be distracted with noise because he has already conquered the only battlefield that matters, the one between his ears. While others chase comfort, you will chase mastery. And comfort will chase you instead. Understand that discipline is loneliness at first. People will not clap for you in the dark hours when you are building in silence, but those same people will marvel at the results they never saw you earn. Let them wonder. Your discipline is not for their eyes. It is the quiet forge where your future is being hammered into shape. If you are building discipline into your bones, comment, "I am the prize." Number 4, become emotionally untouchable. Now we sharpen the blade that most men never even pick up, the mastery of your own emotions, because a man who cannot govern what he feels will forever be governed by those who can. Understand the game being played around you. Every day people probe you for reactions. They say the cutting thing to see if you bleed. They apply the small pressure to test where you crack. They study your face for the flicker of anger, the shadow of jealousy, the tremble of insecurity, because the moment they find your emotional trigger, they own the lever that moves you. So you must become a man whose surface reveals nothing, whose calm is not a performance but a fortress built stone by stone over years of refusing to be moved. This does not mean you feel nothing. Only a fool believes strength is emptiness. It means you feel everything and command it, that the storm rages inside while your face stays as still as a deep water. When the insult comes, you do not flinch. When the betrayal lands, you do not rage. When the fear rises, you do not show it, because you know that every emotion you display is a map you hand to your enemies, and every emotion you conceal is a weapon you keep in reserve. Watch how the world panics and understand that panic is contagious, but so is composure. When everyone around you loses their head, the man who keeps his becomes the one they turn to, the one they follow, the one they trust with the weight of the moment. Your steadiness in chaos is not just discipline, it is authority, and people surrender authority to whoever seems least afraid. Learn to create space between what happens to you and how you respond to it, because in that space lives your entire freedom. The untrained man reacts instantly, jerked around like a puppet by whatever the world throws at him. But you will learn to pause, to breathe, to choose, and in the choosing you become something the reactive man can never be. Sovereign. Never let them see you desperate, because desperation is blood in the water, and the world is full of sharks who smell it from miles away. Never let them see you needy, because need is the collar you place around your own neck and hand the leash to a stranger. Instead, move through life as if you have already won, as if nothing can be taken from you, because you have already made peace with losing it all. This is the paradox of power. The man who does not fear loss cannot be controlled by the threat of it, and the man who cannot be controlled becomes untouchable. Practice this in the small moments. So you are ready for the large ones. When traffic tests you, stay calm. When a fool provokes you, stay calm. When life delivers the blow you did not expect, breathe once and stay calm until calmness is no longer something you do, but something you are. The emotionally untouchable lad walks through a world of chaos like it is weather, unbothered, unhurried, unmoved. And the people around him feel it. They cannot explain why they respect him, why they fear crossing him, why they crave his approval, but they do. That is the quiet power of a man who owns himself. If you are becoming emotionally untouchable, comment, "Nothing moves me." Number 5. Make your value undeniable. Now we turn from defense to construction because all the silence and discipline in the world mean nothing if you have not built something worth protecting, and this is where most men deceive themselves. They want to be feared, respected, and craved, but they have not become valuable enough to justify a single ounce of it. And mystery without substance is just an empty room with the lights off. So, understand this plainly. You must become genuinely, undeniably good at something the world cannot easily replace. Skill is the foundation beneath every power move you will ever make, because a man with rare ability holds cards that charm and manipulation can never buy. While others chase shortcuts and beg for attention, you will disappear into the work, into the thousands of quiet hours that no one applauds until you emerge with a competence so sharp that it speaks before you open your mouth. This is the value that cannot be faked, cannot be flattered, cannot be talked into existence, and it is the only value that lasts. Look at how the world truly operates beneath its polite surface. People do not fear losing access to the pleasant. They fear losing access to the useful, the exceptional, the irreplaceable. Become the person who solves what others cannot, who sees what others miss, who delivers when everyone else makes excuses, and watch how the dynamics shift around you. Suddenly you are not chasing opportunities, they are chasing you. Suddenly you are not asking for respect. It arrives unbidden because respect follows results the way shadow follows light. But building this value demands a brutal honesty most men avoid their entire lives. You must look at yourself without the comfort of lies and ask what you actually offer, what you have actually mastered, what reason the world has to keep you close beyond your ability to entertain it for an afternoon. If the answer is nothing, then that is your assignment, and there is no shame in it, only in refusing to change it. Pour yourself into becoming so skilled that your presence carries weight in any room, so knowledgeable that people quiet down when you begin to speak, so capable that your absence creates a hole no one else can fill. This is the deepest form of security a man can build because it does not depend on anyone's mood, anyone's loyalty, or anyone's permission. Your value lives inside you, portable and permanent, and no one can vote it away or take it from you in the night. And here is the part that separates the wise from the merely ambitious. You must build this value quietly without begging for recognition at every step. The man who announces his greatness is doubted. The man who demonstrates it is feared. Let your work be so undeniable that others are forced to acknowledge it against their will because praise that is extracted by force is worth more than praise you had to beg for. Never explain your worth in words when you can prove it in deeds because words invite argument, but results end the conversation. Understand also that value compounds like interest. Every skill you sharpen makes the next one easier. Every problem you solve builds the reputation that brings you bigger problems worth solving. Every quiet year of relentless improvement stacks upon the last until you look up one day and realize you have become the kind of man the world cannot afford to lose. That is the goal, not to be liked, which is cheap, but to be needed, which is power. When you are truly valuable, the rules change in your favor without you saying a word. People tolerate your boundaries because your worth justifies them. People forgive your distance because your presence is worth the wait. People fear your absence because they know deep down that what you offer cannot be found elsewhere at any price. Build that and you will never have to demand respect again because respect will have no choice but to seek you out. If you are making your value undeniable, comment, "I am the prize." Number 6, guard the gates of your access. Now that you have built value worth protecting, you must learn to guard the gates because a fortress with open doors is not a fortress at all. It is merely a building waiting to be looted. Understand that access to you is the most precious thing you own, and the tragedy of most men is that they give it away for free to anyone who asks. They answer every message the instant it arrives. They accept every invitation out of fear of missing out. They let anyone into their time, their energy, their mind, and their inner circle without a single question about whether that person has earned the privilege. And then they wonder why they feel drained, disrespected, and taken for granted. You will not make this mistake from this day forward. You will treat your presence as the rare currency it is, spending it deliberately, withholding it wisely, and never letting the world convince you that being reachable is the same as being valuable. When you guard your access, something shifts in the way people perceive you. What is easy to obtain is easy to dismiss, but what requires effort to reach is automatically assumed to be worth the effort. So make them work for your time. Make them earn your attention. Not through cruelty or games, but through the quiet, unshakable point standard that not everyone deserves a seat at your table. And those who do must bring something to it. This is not arrogance. It is arithmetic because your time is finite and your energy is limited. And every yes you give to the unworthy is a no. You steal from the worthy, including yourself. Learn to say no without apology and without the long explanation that betrays your guilt, because the man who over-explains his boundaries does not truly believe he has the right to hold them. A boundary spoken with confidence needs no defense. It simply but stands, and the world learns to respect the line because you respect it first. Watch how people test your gates, pushing gently at first to see if the walls are real or just decoration. They will ask for the small favor, the little exception, the tiny piece out of your time that seems harmless. And if you fold, they will return for more because human nature always takes as much as it is allowed to take. So hold the line even on the small things, especially on the small things, because the small concessions are how the large ones begin. Protect your inner circle most fiercely of all because the people closest to you shape your thoughts, your standards, and your applied destiny more than any book or any teacher ever will. You become the average of those you allow near you, so choose them. Like a king chooses his counsel, admitting only those who sharpen you and quietly closing the gate on those who dull you. Cut ties with the drainers, the doubters, the ones who shrink every time you grow, not out of hatred but out of self-preservation. Because loyalty to the wrong people is betrayal of yourself. And understand, the deeper strategy at work here, the reason guarding your access makes you feared rather than merely respected. When people realize that your presence cannot be assumed, that your attention cannot be demanded, that your loyalty cannot be bought with flattery or forced with pressure, they begin to value every moment you grant them. Your rare approval becomes something they chase. Your quiet nod becomes something they crave. Your willingness to make time for someone becomes a signal that they matter because everyone knows how rarely you give it. This is how you transform yourself from someone people use into someone people pursue. But guarding your gates requires a strength most men lack, the strength to disappoint people, to be misunderstood, to be called cold or distant by those who benefited from your former weakness. Let them talk. Their discomfort is the sound of you reclaiming your power, and you did not come this far to trade your sovereignty for the approval of people who never respected it. Hold your boundaries like a soldier holds his post, without drama, without apology, without exception. Until the world learns that access to you is a privilege it must earn and can just as easily lose. If you are guarding the gates of your access, comment, "My access is earned." Number 7. Let them underestimate you. Now learn a strategy so subtle that most men never grasp it, and those who do rarely have the patience to wield it. The art of being underestimated, because there is a strange and lasting power in letting people believe you are less than you are. The world is loud with men desperate to appear impressive, inflating their achievements, announcing their plans, showing every card in their hand before the game has even begun. And in their rush to seem powerful, they hand their rivals a complete map of their strengths and their intentions. You will move differently. You will let them assume you are ordinary, unremarkable, no threat worth watching, because the moment a man is underestimated, he is free. No one guards against the threat they do not see. No one prepares for the move they never expected. No one sabotages the rise they never believed was possible. So let them dismiss you, laugh quietly if they must, and count you out of the race, or while you build in the shadows with a focus they cannot imagine. The wolf does not announce itself to the sheep. It simply arrives, and by then, the announcement is unnecessary. Understand that revealing your full strength is a young man's mistake, born from the hunger to be seen and validated before he has truly won anything. But the man of real power has outgrown that hunger. He no longer needs the world to know how capable he is, because his security comes from within, and that inner security frees him to appear modest, quiet, even harmless, while he positions himself for a victory no one saw coming. There is a deep patience in this, a willingness to be misjudged today so that you may be unstoppable tomorrow, and most men simply cannot bear it. Their ego demands recognition now, immediate proof that they matter, and so they reveal too much, too early to too many, and they wonder why their plans are blocked and their moves are countered before they can complete them. You will not feed your ego at the cost of your ambition. You will swallow the momentary sting of being underestimated, knowing it is a small price for the enormous advantage of moving unseen. Watch how people lower their guard around someone they consider no threat. They speak freely, reveal their true intentions, expose their weaknesses, and hand you the intelligence you need, all because they do not consider you worth the effort of caution. This is the quiet harvest of the underestimated man, gathering knowledge while others gather attention, learning the terrain while others announce their position. And when the moment finally arrives to reveal what you have become, the effect is devastating, because the gap between what they believed and what is real strikes them like a thunderclap. The man they dismissed now stands beyond their reach, and the shock of it commands a respect that gradual, expected success never could. There is also protection in being underestimated, a shield against the envy and sabotage that follow those who shine too brightly too soon. The tallest tree catches the strongest wind, and the man who announces his every triumph invites the resentment of everyone who wishes to see him fall. But the quiet builder, the one who seems unremarkable, moves beneath the notice of the envious, gathering strength unopposed until he is too established to be pulled down. This is not weakness disguised as humility. It is strength disciplined by wisdom, the understanding that power revealed too soon. Is power squandered? Learn to hold your tongue about your plans, your progress, your ambitions, because the plan spoken aloud loses half its force to the doubt and interference of others. Let your success be the first announcement anyone hears, and let it arrive fully formed, undeniable, and beyond argument. Cultivate the calm confidence of a man who knows exactly what he is capable of and feels no need to prove it prematurely, because that confidence, paired with an unassuming surface, is one of the most dangerous combinations a man can possess. The world will not see you coming, and by the time it does, it will be far too late to stop you. Master this, and you will understand why the truly powerful so often seem so quiet, so ordinary, so easy to overlook, right up until the moment they are impossible to ignore. If you are letting them underestimate you, comment, "I am the prize." Number 8. Outgrow your need for their approval. Now we reach the chain that binds more men than any other, heavier than poverty and more crippling than fear, the need for approval, that quiet hunger to be liked, accepted, and validated by people whose opinion should mean nothing to a man who owns himself. Look honestly at how this need has ruled you. It made you laugh at jokes you did not find funny. It made you agree with words you did not believe. It made you shrink your ambitions so others would feel comfortable, dim your light so others would not feel threatened, and betray your own judgment again and again just to avoid the discomfort of disapproval. This is the invisible leash, and the tragedy is that most men never even feel it. Because they have worn it so long, they mistake it for who they are. You will take it off. From this day forward, you will understand that the approval of others is a currency that buys you nothing real, a fleeting warmth that vanishes the moment you stop performing for it, and you will stop paying for it with pieces of your soul. Understand where this hunger comes from, so you can starve it at the root. It is ancient, wired into you from a time when exile from the tribe meant death, when the group's rejection was a sentence no man could survive alone. But you do not live in that world anymore. The disapproval of a stranger, a critic, a crowd of people who will forget your name by morning cannot harm you unless you grant it the power to, and that power is yours to withhold. The man who needs approval is owned by everyone whose approval he seeks, bending in every direction the wind of opinion blows.
And a man pulled in every direction goes nowhere at all. But the man who has outgrown that need becomes something rare and formidable, anchored, immovable, guided by an inner compass that no crowd can spin. Watch what happens when you stop seeking approval and start seeking truth instead. Your decisions grow sharper because they are no longer distorted by the question of what others will think. Your voice grows steadier because you are no longer editing yourself to please the room. Your path grows straighter because you are no longer detouring around every fear of judgment. And here is the paradox that will surprise you. The moment you stop needing their approval is the very moment you begin to earn their respect. People are drawn to the man who does not need them, fascinated by the one who cannot be swayed. Magnetized by the rare individual who seems to answer to a higher standard than their applause. Approval seeking repels the very respect it chases. While indifference to approval attracts it without effort because the world instinctively values what does not beg for its validation. This does not mean you become cruel, dismissive, or deaf to all feedback, for that is not strength but a fragile ego wearing armor. The self-mastered man listens to wisdom wherever it comes from. Weighs criticism for its truth, and adjusts when he is genuinely wrong. But he does all of this from a place of security, not desperation. He takes the useful and discards the rest, unbothered by the opinions that carry no weight, unmoved by the judgments of people who have never walked his road. There is a profound freedom waiting on the other side of this transformation, a freedom most men die without ever tasting. When you no longer need to be liked, you are finally free to be respected. When you no longer fear disapproval, you are finally free to speak the truth. When you no longer chase acceptance, you are finally free to build the life you actually want rather than the life that wins the quiet consent of the crowd. Imagine the weight that lifts when you stop carrying the opinions of people who do not matter. When you stop rehearsing conversations that will never happen. When you stop shrinking yourself to fit inside the small expectations of small minds. That weight has been slowing you your entire life. And the moment you set it down, you move faster, think clearer, and stand taller than you ever have. Understand that some people will not celebrate this new version of you. And that is precisely the point. The ones who benefited from your need for approval will resent that you no longer need it. Because your hunger for their acceptance was the lever they used to control you, and now that lever is gone. Let them adjust or let them leave. You did not reclaim your sovereignty to hand it back to anyone who misses the old obedient version of you. Walk forward as a man who answers only to his own standard and watch how the world reorganizes itself around a person it can know. Longer manipulate. If you have outgrown your need for their approval, comment I answer to no one. Number 9, become the rare man they fear to lose. Now, everything you have built begins to converge and you must understand what you are truly becoming because the goal was never simply to be respected or admired. Those are common currencies traded by ordinary men. The goal was to become rare, and rarity is the one quality that transforms a man from someone people enjoy into someone people fear to lose. Understand the difference, for it is everything. People do not lie awake worried about losing what is replaceable. They do not guard, cherish, or fight to keep what they can find anywhere. But the rare man, the one who combines value with silence, discipline with calm, skill with mystery, becomes something the world cannot find a substitute for. And the moment people sense that truth, their entire posture towards you changes. They stop taking you for granted because deep down they understand that a man like you does not come again. This is the quiet power you have been assembling piece by piece, and now you must let it become who you are rather than something you perform. Rarity is not a mask you wear. It is the natural result of a man who has refused every cheap temptation the world offered him. While others chased attention, you built substance. While others reacted, you stayed calm. While others begged for approval, you answered to yourself. While others made themselves available to everyone, you guarded your access like the treasure it is. And the sum of all these choices is a man who simply does not exist in large numbers. A man whose presence carries a weight that cannot be manufactured or faked. Understand that people are surrounded by the ordinary. Ordinary conversations, ordinary company, ordinary men who blend into the background of their lives. So when they encounter someone genuinely rare, someone unmoved by the games that move everyone else, someone whose calm feels like strength and whose distance feels like depth, they are magnetized in a way they cannot fully explain. They want to be near it. They want to earn it. And most of all, they fear losing access to it. Because some part of them knows that what you offer cannot be found elsewhere at any price. This is the position you have been building toward. The position where you no longer chase, no longer beg, no longer prove, because your very existence does the work that words and effort could never do. Understand too that rarity carries a strange loneliness at the top. That comes from being unlike the men around you, and you must learn to carry it without flinching. Most will never fully understand you, and a few will resent what they cannot become, but this isolation is not a punishment. It is the natural cost of refusing to be common, and the man who cannot bear it retreats back into the crowd and forfeits everything he built. You will bear it. You will stand alone when standing alone is required, and you will find that solitude, once feared, becomes the quiet room where your greatest strength is forged. But hear this warning clearly, for it separates the truly rare from the merely arrogant. Rarity is not coldness for its own sake, not distance as a performance, not silence as a manipulation. Those are hollow imitations that people eventually see through, and when they do, the spell breaks and the respect collapses. True rarity is built on a foundation of genuine value, real discipline, and authentic self-mastery, so that when you withdraw, there is something real worth missing, and when you appear, there is something real worth waiting for. The empty man who plays these games eventually gets exposed, but the man of substance who moves this way only grows more formidable with time. So continue building, continue mastering yourself, continue becoming so valuable, so calm, so disciplined, and so rare that your presence becomes a privilege and your absence becomes a loss that people feel in their bones. Let the world grow accustomed to the weight of you, and then let it feel the emptiness when you step back. This is how you become untouchable, not by demanding it, but by becoming a man for whom it is simply the natural order of things. You will know you have arrived when people begin to fear the moment you might walk away, when they handle your presence with care because they understand how rare it is. When your loyalty becomes something they protect rather than something they assume. That is the summit you have been climbing toward, and it is closer now than it has ever been. If you are becoming the rare man they fear to lose, comment I am the prize. Number 10, walk away as the man who owns himself. Now we arrive at the final truth, the one that binds every lesson before it into a single unshakable way of living, and it is this. The ultimate power is not in being feared, admired, or pursued, but in owning yourself so completely that nothing outside you can ever truly move you again. Everything you have learned points to this summit. The scarcity that made you valuable, the silence that made you unreadable, the discipline that made you reliable, the emotional mastery that made you untouchable, the skill that made you undeniable, the boundaries that made your access rare, the patience to be underestimated, the freedom from needing approval, and the rarity that made people fear your absence. All of it converges into one man, a man who belongs entirely to himself. Understand that this is the state most men never reach because they spend their whole lives owned by something, owned by their cravings, their fears, their need to be liked, their addiction to comfort, their hunger for approval, their inability to sit in silence or stand in stillness. They are pulled in 1,000 directions by forces they never learn to master, and they call this chaos a life. But you have chosen a different path, the harder path, the path of a man who took the time to conquer himself before trying to conquer anything else. And that inner conquest is the foundation of every kind of power worth having. When you own yourself, the world loses its grip on you. Insults cannot wound a man who does not depend on their good opinion. Temptations cannot bribe a man who has mastered his appetites. Pressure cannot break a man who has made peace with loss. Loneliness cannot frighten a man who has learned to be complete on his own. This is the untouchable state you have been building toward. Not a fortress of coldness, but a foundation of such total self-possession that you move through the world free, unhurried, and unafraid. Understand that this ownership is tested not in the easy moments, but in the hard ones. In the seasons when everything you built is threatened and every instinct screams at you to abandon your standards. Just to survive the storm. This is where most men crumble, trading their principles for a moment of relief. And this is where you will stand firm. Because a man who owns himself does not sell his soul for comfort, no matter how loud the pressure grows. The world will test you precisely because it senses you cannot be bought, throwing temptation and adversity at you to see if your composure is real or merely a costume. And every test you pass carves your sovereignty deeper into your bones. Do not resent these trials. Welcome them, because each one is proof that you have become the kind of man worth testing, and each victory makes the next attempt to move you weaker than the last. And here is the final paradox, the one that ties everything together. The man who has no need of others is the very man others need the most. Your independence becomes your magnetism. Your self-sufficiency becomes your power. The fact that you can walk away from anything is precisely what makes people fight to keep you, because they sense that your presence is a choice you make rather than a need you cannot escape. And there is nothing more valuable in this world than the loyalty of a man who does not need you, but chooses you anyway. So, walk forward now as that man, speak less and mean more. Move calmly through the chaos that swallows others. Build value in silence and let your results announce you. Guard your access like the treasure it has become. Answer to your own standard and no one else's, and never again make yourself small, available, or cheap for people who have not earned the privilege of your presence. This is not the end of your journey, but the beginning of your reign. The moment you stop being a man the world can use and become a man the world must respect. The old version of you, the one who chased, begged, and shrank, is gone, and in his place stands someone rare, disciplined, calm, and utterly his own. Carry that with you into every room, every relationship. Every challenge that dares to test you, and watch how the world reorganizes itself around a man it can no longer move. You came here to become untouchable, and now you hold the blueprint. All that remains is to live it day after disciplined day until it is no longer something you do, but simply who you are. One last time, let the world know exactly where you stand. Comment, I am the prize. And if this spoke to something real in you, do not let it fade. Like this video, subscribe to and turn on notifications so that every truth built to sharpen you finds its way to you. Your reign begins now.